This is your official WWE Survivor Series 2019 review here on the YouTube channel. Jeff here with you. Let's get right into it. It took place from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. They had 3 matches on their 2-hour pre-show. The opening match was a tag team battle royal involved 10 tag teams that were not a part of the main card. This was just give them something to do. Really not a whole lot to say about the match. It comes down to the Street Profits and Rude and Ziggler in the end. Rude and Ziggler eliminate one of the Street Profits and they get the win in a pretty meaningless match. It went 8 minutes and 19 seconds. I gave the match a C-. It really wasn't a whole lot to say about it. This was nothing more than filler that really wasn't even needed at this point, I didn't think. Second match on the card was for the NXT Cruiserweight Title, triple threat style. We had Lio Rush defending the Cruiserweight Title against Kalisto and Tozawa. I actually thought this was a pretty good match. Pretty solid stuff here from these gentlemen. Each guy got a chance to shine during the time that they were given. Just good stuff here. One point, the big spot here, we saw Lio Rush hit a double arm drag off the top rope off from Kalisto and Tozawa. That was a pretty cool spot. Ultimately, in the end, in 8 minutes and 19 seconds, Lio Rush pinned Kalisto with the final hour to retain the NXT Cruiserweight title. Thought it was a pretty enjoyable match. I gave it a B+. Pretty good stuff here, and the crowd, unfortunately, weren't too responsive to it, but I thought it was a pretty good match overall. The third and final match on the pre-show, and by far easily the best match of the 3 on the pre-show, was the tag team triple threat match. We had the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Viking Raiders, SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the New Day, and the NXT Tag Team Champions, Undisputed Era, here in triple threat competition. Great stuff here from these guys. These guys all told a great story. This match delivered the goods. They gave the match plenty of time. Just some great stuff. Ultimately, in the end, at 14 minutes and 41 seconds, the Viking Raiders won the match, as I had predicted they would. They hit the Viking experience on Kyle O'Reilly to win the match. A lot of people seem to be surprised that the Viking Raiders won this match. To me, it made perfect sense that they won. I think a lot of people were thinking that the Undisputed Era were going to win here. There was no reason why the New Day needed to win. I thought they went with the right choice in the Viking Raiders, and they got the win in a great match. I gave the match an A-, easily the best of the 3 matches on the pre-show. They opened Survivor Series proper with the Women's 5-on-5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. You had Team SmackDown at Sasha, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross taking on the Raw team, captained by Charlotte, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Natalya, and Sarah Logan. And you had the 5 NXT superstars that were out there as well. Most of the notables were out there. Bianca Belair was out there. They did an injury angle, taking 2 of the NXT women out. I think Dakota Kai was one of them, and I forget who the other one was. I was not a fan of that because they had done it the previous night at the Takeover as well, where they did an injury angle in the women's match, War Games match. So I was not a real big fan of that, and I wasn't a fan of it here either. So they get all the eliminations down. Ultimately, we're down to the final 2. It is Rhea Ripley from NXT and Sasha Banks from SmackDown. They had good stuff going here. Crowd was into it. We see the 2 NXT women, people who were taken out earlier, they come back, no worse for the wear. They ultimately help Rhea Ripley win the match. Rhea wins by hitting Sasha with the Riptide at 27 minutes and 53 seconds, to give NXT the win here in this 5-on-5-on-5 match. I don't have a problem. I had picked Raw to win. I had picked Charlotte's team to win. Obviously, they didn't win. I didn't have a problem with NXT winning here. I was not a fan of the finish here. The finish was overbooked here. I thought overall the match, I gave the match a B. I thought it was a little clunky, a little sloppy at times, but overall it was enjoyable enough for me. I give the match a B, so that was my grade for that. Next up, triple threat competition. U.S. Champion AJ Styles, NXT North American Champion Roderick Strong, and Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura here in action. Great stuff here from all these guys. Again, each guy got a chance to shine here. Just some good stuff here. Of course, Sami Zayn was out there with Nakamura. He would get involved at a later part in the match. But for the most part, he was pretty neutral. He really didn't get involved too much except for the one part late in the match. Just a lot of good stuff here from these guys. This match definitely delivered the goods. And at 16 minutes and 46 seconds, Roderick Strong pinned Shinsuke Nakamura after AJ had hit the phenomenal forearm. And then Roderick Strong, being the opportunist, threw AJ Styles out of the ring, got the pin, and stole the victory from AJ. So Roderick Strong got the win here. He was my pick, so I was not surprised to see Roderick Strong win. So good stuff here. I thought it was a great match, very enjoyable. I gave the match an A. It was that good. Next match on the card was for the NXT title. We had Adam Cole, baby, taking on Pete Dunne, who had won a triple threat match the night before at NXT TakeOver against Damian Priest and Killian Dane. So it's Adam Cole and Pete Dunne here for the NXT title. This was outstanding. Outstanding stuff here. These guys told a great story. The crowd definitely into it. Both guys got a chance to shine. I'm not going to really do it justice by just doing this. You have to go watch this. This is one of the matches you need to watch from Survivor Series. Ultimately, at 14 minutes and 6 seconds, Adam Cole won and retained the title after he hit the last shot on Pete Dunne after blocking Dunne's finisher. So, blocking and counting Dunne's finisher into the last shot for the win. Just an outstanding match. The fans definitely into it. They were fired up for this one. So was I. 14 minutes, 6 seconds, Adam Cole wins and retains the NXT title. I gave the match an A+. It was outstanding. Easily the most enjoyable thing on the show up to this point, even though there was some other good action, but this was outstanding. Next up was the WWE Universal Title match. We had Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, defending the title against Daniel Bryan, of course. This is a SmackDown title match. Now, they go from one great title match to a not-so-great title match here. Of course, we had the red lighting here. I thought this was not a very good match, in all honesty. The outcome here, never in doubt. They give Daniel Bryan a hope spot. Bray gets the early jump. Daniel Bryan fights back. He actually got Bray down. He hit the running knee off the yes chant. He hit the running knee, got the 2 count. Ultimately, Bray was able to battle back, and he ultimately won in 10 minutes with the mandible claw, and got the pin on Daniel Bryan to retain the title. Of course, the red lighting, which I thought you have to subtract for that. It was not a good look again. And to the surprise of no one, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, retained the title in 10 minutes. I gave the match a C+, and I think that's being kind. It's nothing that Daniel Bryan did wrong. I didn't think the match was all that great. I thought it was just about an average match at best. Next up was the men's 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. You had Team Raw, captained by Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, and Ricochet, taking on SmackDown team, captained by Roman Reigns, along with Chad Gable, Baron Corbin, Mustafa Ali, and Braun Strowman, and you had the 5 NXT superstars. Just great stuff here. Of course, the surprise was Walter, the NXT UK champion. I thought he was a very notable surprise here. I would have figured someone like Finn Balor would have been in the spot, but they gave it to Walter. And the one thing that really bummed me out about the match, Walter was the most over guy in the match. And of course, Walter is the first one eliminated after about 3 minutes. Really, it made him look bad. It makes Imperium look bad. It makes NXT UK look bad. I realized he was a warm body here, but I mean, there was no reason to eliminate him that fast. So then we get through all the eliminations. We're down to the final 3, 1 from each side. Of course, it's Seth Rollins from Raw, Roman Reigns from SmackDown, and not Tommaso Ciampa from NXT. It happens to be Keith Lee, so they give Keith Lee the rub here by being in the final pairing here. Keith Lee actually eliminates Seth Rollins, so it is down to Roman Reigns and Keith Lee. These two put on a good showing here for the few minutes they were given to work together. Ultimately, in the end, to the surprise of no one, Roman Reigns actually won. He was my pick. He won here at 29 minutes and 18 seconds. After a valiant effort by Keith Lee, Roman Reigns pinned Keith Lee after hitting the spear for the win. Despite all that, I actually gave the match an A+. I know some people may disagree with that, but I actually thought this was a very enjoyable match. I know we got a CM Punk chant during the match, but you know what? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna change my grade. I'm gonna give it an A-, not an A+. I'll give it an A-. I still thought it was actually a pretty enjoyable match. for what we got there. 29 minutes and 18 seconds, Roman Reigns won. And afterwards, we saw Keith Lee kind of do a little bow down, and then Roman Reigns did put his fist out for the fist bump, and Keith Lee obliged. So, kind of a way to give Keith Lee the rub and not have Roman Reigns be booed completely. Though he was booed a little bit when he won, but he wasn't booed nearly as bad as we've heard in the past. Next match was for the WWE title in a no-holds-barred match. We had Brock Lesnar, the champion. Of course, Paul Heyman was out there with him, taking on Rey Mysterio Jr. We got a long recap video before this, so they were clearly stalling for time because we knew this match wasn't going to go long, and it didn't go long at all. So they have the match. Brock gets the early drop on Rey for a while. Ultimately, we do see Dominic get involved, and that was one of the things I mentioned on my predictions, that maybe that Dominic would get involved. He does get involved. He brings this white towel out, thinking maybe he's going to throw in the towel. It doesn't happen. We ultimately see, after a bit of stalling, Rey Mysterio hits a low blow, then Dominic hits a low blow. Rey gets the pipe. He goes to work on Brock for a bit. They give Rey Mysterio a hope spot here. Him and Dominic hit stereo splashes off the top rope. They both covered Brock, but he wound up kicking out. And we all knew what was going to happen next. Brock destroys Dominic in seconds after that. And Rey, who went up to the top rope to try to go for another high-risk move, got caught by Brock. F5, 1, 2, 3. At 6 minutes and 55 seconds, Brock Lesnar retained the WWE title to the surprise of no one, really. That was really the match in a nutshell. There was really nothing exciting about the match. I gave it a C+, and I think that's being generous as well. There was really nothing exciting about the match. I'm sorry. It just didn't do anything for me. So much like the Universal title match with Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, that really didn't do a whole lot for me. This WWE title match that went less than 7 minutes with Brock retaining, which was no surprise, like I said, but still, I thought maybe they could have given it a little bit more time, and I know Brock doesn't like to work long matches, and he likes working with the smaller guys, so, I mean, obviously, Rey Mysterio Jr. bumped like crazy for Brock here, and actually surprised that Brock actually gave offense to Rey Mysterio, but Brock retaining, again, and I knew Dominic was going to get involved, which he did, but he ultimately got laid out in the end. Your final match of the night is the Women's Triple Threat match. Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch taking on SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. And then we had NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler. I understand why they put this in the main event spot. They obviously wanted to follow up to WrestleMania when you had the women in the main event there in the Triple Threat. So they did it here as well. Unfortunately, this was not a good match. I hate to say, I'm a fan of all three of these ladies, but this was not a good match. It was too slow. I thought it was a little choppy, a little clunky. I don't know, just the pacing here was not well. I don't know if it was the chemistry or whatever or not. It just seemed a little slow to me, and I know the fans weren't really too up into it. And I mean, towards the later part, they started to get involved. And we all knew why Bayley was in the match, and sure enough, that's exactly what played in. At 18 minutes and 6 seconds, ultimately, after the women battled each other for a while. Each had a chance to shine. Each had their finishers at one point, but the others managed to kick out. Baszler ultimately at 18 minutes and 6 seconds taps out Bayley to the Coquina clutch, or to the clutch, I should say, for the tap out and the win for Shayna Baszler here. So they protect Becky Lynch by not having her lose here, so she saves face. The only reason why, like I said, Bayley was in the match was to take the losing fall. That's exactly what happens. So, Shayna wins. NXT wins for the night, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Afterwards, Becky gets some of her heat back. She lays out Shayna Baszler on the outside, hit this leg drop through the table, and Becky's left standing tall as they go off the air. I don't know. I was not a big fan of this match. I gave the match a C-. It really disappointed me because I thought this could have been better, but again, the chemistry just didn't seem to be there. It was a little slow for me, a little clunky, a little sloppy at times. I don't know what it was. It was just nothing there, and we did not get a run out. No Ronda Rousey to be found anywhere. I thought maybe she would come out. Nope. No Ronda Rousey to be found anywhere, and that's how it went off the air, so that was that. So ultimately, when it was all said and done, NXT won the night. They won the most falls. I believe they had 4. SmackDown had 2, and Raw won 1. And let's be honest, the only reason why NXT won, and I use that in quotes, won the night at Survivor Series, it's one reason and one reason only. It is because of AEW. And if WWE says that NXT winning the night had nothing to do with AEW, they're lying to you. It had everything to do with AEW. You know AEW officials were watching this. And believe me, WWE was sending a message with NXT winning. This was a message sent to AEW because, of course, last week in the Wednesday Night Wars, NXT got their first win against AEW on the Wednesday Night Wars in the ratings. Barely squeaked out a win despite having all the firepower from Raw and SmackDown down there. So they were clearly sending a message. And again, if they say that had nothing to do with it, they're lying to you. So that's what my thought on that was. What is my official grade for WWE Survivor Series 2019? Definitely more good than bad on this show. I'm actually going to give it a B. I thought it was a relatively enjoyable show. It was a good show. Good to maybe even great. Not a perfect show. But still definitely enjoyable enough that you should watch it. Definitely some good stuff in here. The NXT title match was great. I thought the tag team champions in the pre-show actually had a very solid match. I thought the mid-card title triple threat guys had a very solid match as well. And I thought the men's 5-on-5-on-5 match was actually pretty solid. So yeah, my official grade is a B, so that's what we had there. Let me know down in the comments section what your favorite moment from Survivor Series was. Thanks for checking us out here on YouTube. We'll see you the next time. Bye for now, everyone.